how to use the template to create a customized green change planning report for each business that they serve, and just kind of schedule a follow-up meeting and what makes sense there in terms of that follow-up meeting schedule. So under Unit 1, participants should learn how to evaluate data points gathered in the environmental practice assessment by learning how to recognize and summarize an organization's best eco-practice and identify those areas with room for improvement. Sounds quirky, but really what we're talking about there is how do you read into the responses that clients give you and find out whether or not they're actually doing something good for the environment, bad for the environment. Good way to look at it usually is they're probably doing something bad towards the environment because they haven't thought these issues through usually. But how to read into response. One simple way to look at it is to say, hey, rubber bands, oh yeah, we reuse those all the time. Well, everybody reuses rubber bands. You don't go out and buy rubber bands every day. But reuse in that area, while good, because it's a product that lends itself to reuse, doesn't mean that they bought the right kind or that they did the right things with them as they were going along. So looking at your client responses, you need to know the material from that environmental process implementation cheat sheet that we provided that shows what the right responses are, and to look past the obvious in client responses. Great example is always with paper. If a company uses paper that says even 25% recycled paper, they will tell you, almost without exception, that they use recycled paper. Do they do that to fool you? No. They do that because when they went out to Staples or OfficeMax to buy the paper, they made a choice to buy the stuff with the big recycled logo on it. Because, guarantee you, they put a big recycling thing on it if it's recycled paper. That might only be 10% post-consumer recycled paper. It might be pre-consumer recycled paper. Remember the sawmill savings we talked to you about in Course 1. So you have to look more deeply than that. On paper, we like to go right to where the office supply closet is and actually see the paper. If you ask somebody, are their windows energy efficient, and they say yes. How energy efficient are we talking about? Do you know whether they're double pane, triple pane? How long ago were they replaced? What formulates those responses? Look a little deeper into that. And then from there you need to find out what do the responses mean, and then how to highlight the positive while not allowing greenwash to influence the plan report. You want to look at their responses in detail. Don't just... companies will, at some point, try to greenwash their responses, especially during the office supplies part of the questionnaires, because they're getting about 35 questions levied against them that they're not getting any right answers to, and they know that. During the course of the questioning, they realize, hey, I'm not as green as I would have thought we might have even been. That particular part of the process, that office supply part, is the toughest part of things to get people right in. So they'll start to do that. They'll start to greenwash their responses. You got to guard against that a little bit when it comes up, and just be friendly about it. Put a smile on your face and say, well, we really just want to get to the end of it. You've got to get some stuff right. People always get it right by default. Something around here is done right. And we'll find that during the course of these 104 questions. But you get into that, we want to make sure that the responses that they're giving you are not greenwash responses to try and make it so that they think they do better in your eyes. Because that's a natural human response to crave dignity there and not feel like they're doing too much bad stuff. And people will become a little bit sensitive to that. Now, when you're generating the report, you're going to hear from their responses certain things that make you realize, hey, that might not be really applicable to this particular business. One of the things that's on there, it's on our questions, is have you ever heard of a website called Blackle.com? We talk about Blackle because it's an energy-conserving website. The back screen, it's Google, basically with a black background. Using that black background on old CRT monitors saves energy because it doesn't have to produce the white background that uses a little bit more energy to produce. It's a very small measure, but with a lot of people doing it, it makes a significant difference. Does that make sense in a business that has a lot of old legacy computers? Yeah. With new LCD monitors out there, if the business is solid LCD monitors, nothing to worry about there. Don't need to worry about it because Blackle.com is producing a black background and a white background, and there's no real energy difference there on an LCD monitor. So some things might not be applicable. So as you go through those questions and you ask those questions, when you're doing the report, type up not applicable under those things and make sure that those things don't find their way into the final report.